Hello, everyone. How are we doing? I haven't done one of these for a long time. See if my phone can catch up, because I'm still having to use my phone as the chat box. I don't have a second screen yet. Good, everything's coming. Everyone's saying hello. Hello from Ukraine. Hello from the UK. Can you all hear me? I assume you can hear me okay. Had some funny things going on with the mic before because I haven't done a live stream since February now, so it's been quite a while. But looks like it's all working. I remember the last time I streamed was my 30,000 subscribers stream, and then afterwards I was trying to mess around with the settings on my Streamlabs, and it started streaming back to YouTube by itself. So I was wondering if it was going to do that again, but it hasn't, so that's good. We're in a phone? Okay, buy whatever machine you can find. Yeah, but no, I can see you on the my laptop screen at the moment. Once I've switched over to screen share for the tier list, I won't be able to use that anymore. Marussia merch is very hard to find, actually. I haven't done much hunting for F1 merch in general. I'm very proud of my 2012 HRT raincoat. I've got that one. I've really struggled to find decent capsule shirts, ones that are like official ones from the time, because otherwise you get like you can just get ones that's sort of black shirt with HRT on it. But actual merch from the time is tricky. And now I'm thinking maybe I should have bought some of that when I went to Silverstone 2011, 2012. But didn't think to at the time. I think I bought a BMW Sauber t-shirt, and that was about it. Last time PB streamed, Nuvolari was still alive, maybe. Yeah, it has been a while. I mean, I didn't... maybe streaming more might have helped the algorithm in the past 6 months, I don't know. Because it hasn't been too friendly to me, as a lot of you know. I just never got round to fitting in live streams at all. Because the one in February, I was trying to remember, okay, tier list, what have we not done yet? And then I was like, okay, we've done 2010s cars, drivers, liveries, 2000s liveries and drivers, 90s drivers, but not 2000s cars. So I thought, okay, that's the next one to do. So I know at least, because 30,000, so now it's been 10 months. It's taken 10 months to get to 40,000. This came a few weeks earlier than I thought it would, actually, because the Hamilton video got 800 subscribers off of that in the past week, so that boosted things a lot. I thought I'd be doing this over Christmas or something, but apparently not. When's this week DRS train coming? Probably today. We recorded it yesterday, so Con should be getting out today, but he haven't heard anything yet. But that's the plan is that would be coming out today for Abu Dhabi. It was just me and Nedzo that did that. We're not very good at getting all four of us on at once. It's one of the complexities of everyone being in different time zones. Doesn't help. Yeah, 90s cars, that'll definitely be a future one, because I've done the drivers, cars and liveries, and then 80s, and we go back and back. Maybe I'll do 2020s, because I've got... Well, spoiler alert, the next big video is ranking every 2020s driver so far. That one, I recorded the script yesterday, but I've got another smaller video which I decided to start yesterday, which will probably come this weekend. So then I'll try and get the 2020s drivers done by Christmas. I would desperately hope. And then eventually I've got to do 2020s cars. That probably will have to wait until January. So there's a lot to think about. And then just kind of find what I'm doing after that. But at the moment, it's it's very intensive work, because I'm trying to think of what does and doesn't work and what the algorithm's going to like. I think maybe I think I put myself in a bit of a box because I saw viewership starting to drop in the summer, and I was like, oh well, let's just remake old videos. So I remade the Ground Effect one, and then Virgin, Midland Spiker. Maybe that'll do it. And then it's like, oh, you're making new stuff, so we don't like that. Or remaking new videos, and they didn't seem to be a big fan of that. And they did worse than the original videos, which those original videos were made when I had fewer than 1,000 subscribers. And maybe that just the I think the rules of the algorithm have changed. It seems now it's more. I feel like I'm more dependent on every video to land, and I don't think it's just affecting me because I won't name any names, but I have had other F1 creators say that they've experienced a similar downturn in viewership this year, and it seems like what the algorithm wants changes, and I think people's tastes are changing too. There is more of an emphasis on wanting current event stuff and less of the historical stuff. Maybe that's because this has been such an engaging season of Formula One that people are more interested in that rather than nostalgia and looking backwards. I don't know. But so I'm trying to lean more in that direction, but as well as older channels like mine struggling. Again, I won't name names. There do seem to have been new channels that have appeared in the past year and a half that are getting like hundreds of thousands of views within days on videos which are covering topics which have been covered many times by other people. And the frequency with which they upload certainly suggests that there's more than one person working on them and everything else. But yeah, I mean, if you watch a lot of content, you'll probably know the channels I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name any names. Might see more viewers now that we're in the off-season and people want content. Yes, that's what I'm hoping. Last year, though, was not, well, it was okay, actually, because I mean, the videos I put out in January, February actually did far better than I was expecting them to. Over Christmas, I didn't put anything out because it's Christmas and there's no point. But it generally, I think people are less engaged over the winter because there's no F1 on. I mean, January in particular is dead for F1 because testing doesn't begin until late February, March. We don't get the car launches until February. So in January, there's nothing really going on. Unless come this January, we're still waiting to find out the fate of Checo, for example. But I've got some ideas. They're all massive videos that are going to take ages to do, but they're ones I think will pop off. And then I'll see if I can kind of get back into a position where I can feel like I can maybe do more like on-site stuff as well. Like, because I've said in the past, I want to do, if I can, I want to film stuff at circuits or at museums or factories or whatever, something like that, just to make it a little bit more, yeah, I thought that'd be more interesting, and now I can do that because I have a car and I've got mobility and can get around. But at the moment, financially, it's not worth taking that kind of risk unless I think it will really pay off. We're getting all the car launches in one event in London. We are. Yeah, I'm in two minds about that, doing the car launches. Because some people were like, okay, it looks kind of cool. And then others were, I think, well, the drivers, Max, kind of put it down a bit. He was like, I hope I'm ill on that day. But then I saw the ticket prices for it and the way that they shot up, and I was like, yeah, this is not it. Because it's not a car launch, it's going to be a livery launch. Because these days you don't see the actual cars at the launch anyway, because they don't want to give anything away until pre-season testing. And if they're going to stream it on YouTube, it's like, you just stay home and watch it for free, to be honest. Something like that. Ferrari showed their real car in 23. Yeah, sometimes they do. I mean, they did. That was when they did the live shakedown at Fiorano, which is genius move. Yeah, they sometimes they do. I think in the olden days they more often did just show, okay, this is the car. But these days, particularly the ones at the top, most of them they don't like to give too much away because they know everyone's going to be like, oh, look at that winglet, look at that upright element, all of that stuff, and try and see if they can work out or if they found some kind of secret loophole, which is possibly another reason, as well as saving weight, that we get cars that have basically no livery because it hides the contours. If the whole thing is black, you can't really see you can't really see the contours of it and what's going on under the floor, all of that kind of thing. Yeah, that'll be it's a bit yeah, doing a big live event like that, it's just a bit cringe. Kind of, it's similar to the Vegas massive launch they did last year, and was it this year or last year they did the one in Miami before the race, and they got the drivers to walk out, and the only one that was actually into it at all was Logan Sargent, and the rest of them just walked and waved because they don't care. um it's not, yeah, it's like this isn't NFL. Like, we or whatever, we don't do that kind of thing. Has the TGS begun yet? No, not yet, so we'll get started soon. I've been waffling for 15 minutes now. Just catching up. So if I've got my everything sorted, unless I can't see it at all, I am noticing there's no chat appearing on the side. I wonder if I can do something about that, because that's very annoying. Yeah, why has that disappeared off the feed? So I can still see what you're saying to me, but yeah, there's no there's no chat appearing on the feed. Okay, how would I do that? I haven't changed any settings. I just haven't used this in months, so I don't know why it wouldn't appear. I'll see if I can fix that. It's done this before. I mean, even before, when the chat was running, it was sometimes just pause and not appear like at all for several minutes, and then eventually would catch up and start updating itself. You can't change settings to your live. Oh, that's annoying. Actually, if I just remove the chat and then add it again, maybe it'll update itself. Sources widget, chat box. Let's move that over. Settings, boxed. Okay, well, I don't know if that's worked. I just added and re-added it. But we'll see. Yeah. Okay, let's see what people are saying. Are you going to make a video on how Ferrari could have won the World Constructors 0924? I mean, I can. There are definitely seasons where they could have done it, a lot where they couldn't, but there are probably some you could throw in. Yeah, that's I think you'd have to just look at 17, 18, yeah, absolutely. Not 19, definitely not 20. 22, theoretically, if Checo had been a bit more useless, they could have. 2015, no, not through. No, not with Mercedes doing their thing. That is extremely annoying that the chat box is not working, unless it will start working if I switch over to sharing the screen. Okay, well, we can carry on without the chat if we have to. So I shall switch. Let's see what you're thinking. Presentation mode. There we go. Right. Right, that should switch over if my Stream Deck is working as planned. Doesn't look like it is. My feed hasn't changed. Okay, I'll just have to do this manually then. That's annoying. There we go. Okay. I thought the Stream Deck would play ball, but obviously it doesn't want to. So, yeah, here we go. 2000s cars, V8s, V10s, and then whatever the fuck that was in 2009. So there's 107 of them. It's been I've been a bit rusty on some of these because when I did my ranking video of these cars, that was 2.5 years ago. But yeah, there's a lot to do here. I'll see if I can remember, because I had to go through and find images this morning for each of them and name them and categorize them. 4 Jordans in a column. Nice. So yeah, these are arranged chronologically. So we'll go from 2000 and then up to end 2009. So yeah, let's just get going. So first up is this one. So we have the Arrows A21 from the year 2000. So this car was Jos Verstappen and Pedro de la Rosa, if I believe correctly. The main distinctive thing, other than the absolutely amazing livery, one of many amazing liveries from the V10 era, is they had a very small fuel tank. So they liked to run aggressive, and the car had like insane top speed, straight line speed. It was amazing. It was very good at circuits like Monza and Hockenheim. Yeah, they liked to run, but so they ran aggressive strategies because they had a small fuel tank, so they were always running light and that. But yeah, some points, not many. Standard midfield kind of deal. I kept the same tiers that I had in the previous ones. Again, I don't think reliability was ever fantastic for Arrows as well. 7 finishes 2001. That's the A22, but so we don't have much to gauge off at the moment. So I'm going to put this in D tier, and then we can start to think about it a bit better when we've got more cars going on there. Next up is the BAR double, or the BAR 02. So they had the first car, the first BAR, that was the one that had the was it Mechachrome? It wasn't Honda in '99. What was the engine? It was one of those rebadged ones. Whatever engine it was, unless they had switched to the, I think they did switch to the Honda in 2000. And yeah, they took on the Lucky Strike livery back when we were allowed Supertech. Yes, thank you. That's the one, Supertech. That's just a rebadged Ferrari. Yeah, so this, the classic, the Lucky Strike livery, back when we were allowed to have tobacco sponsoring. This was quite an improvement over the previous car, because the previous one, it was quite funny that, Villeneuve and everyone was saying, oh, we're targeting race wins. And then I think they got 1 or 2 classified finishes the whole season and no points because the car just didn't work. And you had things like, there was that test between Villeneuve and Zonta when they tried to take Radeon flat and both crashed. So, yeah. But that was 99. So 2000, this car was better, still at the lower end. Villeneuve and Zonta again. Performance-wise, probably not too different from the Arrows. So my first thought is to put it in D tier. First BAR was the split design with Supertech. Yeah, well, they had the livery because they wanted to do 2 separate ones. They were like, nah, mate, you can't do that. So they split them. 9 finishes overall. I've got someone checking Wikipedia. Good. Help me along. Okay, so slightly better on reliability than the Arrows. Competitive-wise, probably in a similar position. So, yeah, I'll just plonk that there, I think. After that, the Benetton B200 from 2000. Quite a pretty car. Just a simple, kind of aqua turquoise kind of thing with the mild 7. 2000, let's think. Wurz, that was still Wurz and Fisichella, I believe. I think this was the car, or it was the 2001 car that Jenson Button absolutely hated. It'd be the 2001 car, and he said it was just undrivable because it didn't have power steering or anything else that you need like that. The 2000 Benetton wasn't brilliant. They had taken a big downturn ever since Schumacher left, to be honest, and you realise just how much he was carrying that team, because everyone else said the cars were terrible. That being said, the 96 and the 97 cars were reasonably decent, even though the 96 car was built with Schumacher in mind, but Alesi and Berger made it work, and they were both very consistent. It just wasn't fast enough to challenge Williams. This one, I think, this was still. I think there was a time when Fisichella was getting a podium or two like every year, and I think he did that again in 2000. So, yeah, I think this one is again middle, better than the previous two, but maybe just C tier. Works. You can tell I'm rusty on these cars. I haven't researched these ones for a long time. Peter, who do you think will win the WCC in 2025? Well, that is the question. Realistically, McLaren are going to be making a decent push now for it, because I'm not convinced Max is going to be able to challenge again in next year. With the loss of Newey, Jonathan Wheatley, there's some quite big losses for them. It's unlikely they could regain the form they had in the first 7 races, which was really less them being better and more everyone else being worse. And we've more or less hit a performance ceiling or a development ceiling with this spec of cars, so I don't think it's going to change much. So I'm thinking it's going to be between Ferrari and McLaren, and maybe Lando will have learnt his lessons from this year, and I think maybe Lando will be taking that title. If Schuma didn't leave Benetton, would they've got more titles? Maybe. If he, I mean, fair dues to Michael, if he could have made the 96 Benetton taken the title, because that car was built with him in mind, so for all you know, he could have. And all he has to do is face Damon Hill again. He'd already beaten him twice. 97, less likely. He would have probably had his eye on Ferrari anyway, because the Benetton were just going downhill. Unless he somehow stuck it out for years and was still there when they became Renault. I don't know. It's a big what if. Okay, next car. Right, now we got one of the big ones. Ferrari F1 2000. So yeah, the beginning of Ferrari's dominance. This car, I mean, 2000, in terms of the title fight, an amazing year. There was so little in it between McLaren and Ferrari. It was really, they were very, very tight on performance. Both went in and out of phases of having breakdowns and problems of reliability as well. And so it kept it really close and engaging. And yeah, Schumacher did take the title at the penultimate round in Suzuka, where him and, similar to kind of what Max and Lewis were doing in 21, him and Mika had pushed themselves out to over a minute ahead of the rest of the field. So they, it was just a really great time to see two greats like that, just pushing each other to their limits. The car, was very, very, very switched on. An evolution of the 99 car, still had the kind of slightly dated raised nose design, but it worked really well. And Barrichello only got a single win. Michael got 7 or 8, probably. Mika lost the 2000 title at USGP when the engine blew. Wasn't that the final? The final round was that Malaysia? Yeah, his engine did blow, but yeah, the title, it was, I mean, Schumacher formally took it, beating him in Suzuka. But Ferrari ahead of McLaren by 18 points due to Mika's win in Austria, with the 10 points not being awarded due to a seal. That was Hungary, the missing seal that they took 10 points off of. I think actually when you do the points calculation, with the modern points system, that penalty would have cost them the constructors' title. Yeah, well-deserved milestone. Thank you very much. Yes, I'm glad I got here. I mean, subscriber growth has been very, very slow in the past few months, so I'm glad I've met this one. I am eventually targeting the magic 100,000 subscribers. When it will happen, I don't know. It could take a few years at this rate. But again, I've seen people in less than a year get to 100,000 subs doing F1 content. So I just... Maybe they'll be very, very generous to me. Oh, sorry, just got a message. What are we doing with Ferrari? So... Okay, right, sorry. Right, okay. No one's putting in their own nominations for tiers in this, I've noticed so far. That was tended to be a thing in the other ones. I mean, this one, more than likely an S. But, yeah. S or A. S or high A. On the basis that this wasn't like an outright dominant car, and it was basically on par with the McLaren, yeah, and also the reliability, maybe A tier is good for that. Yeah, okay. Next up is what have we got next? The Jaguar or Jaguar. No, Jaguar, British English, not Jaguar. So that one, yeah, the first Jag taking over Stewart. I love the Jags. The livery is amazing. But this car was Johnny Herbert, Eddie Irvine. Not their best. I mean, all of their cars were basically just midfield ones. Okay. Right. So, yeah, the Jag again. These are the cars that I didn't really watch Formula One properly back at this time. But I'd watched the odd race here, and I was just like the cars. I liked that all the cars were different colors, and you can see this here. Like every car is so easily recognizable. There's the red car, the yellow car, the orange car, the blue, the grey, everything. They all just stand out, and this one it did everything. The British Racing Green with the gold rims was amazing. Yeah, but so a lot of people are saying E. I remember, I'm not sure I think Johnny Herbert, he had a very big shunt in Malaysia in this car. I don't think he got a single point in it. There was only a few for Eddie as well. I mean, I'm just thinking about this because imagine if Irvine had taken the title in '99 and then he gets sent to Jag after that. Because again, with the modern point system, he'd have won the title by like 16 points or whatever. Did Irvine get a podium? There was a podium, not in 2000. I think Monza 2001. There was one, and there was one at Monaco one year as well. Monza 02 or Monaco 2001. Okay, yeah. So yeah, not this year. Yeah, a lot of people are saying E. I suppose there's the odd good result here. Maybe it should go in D. Because it wasn't necessarily consistently awful. It was just, but that team was very. I mean, Jag had problems. The team was kind of mismanaged, and the leadership kept changing. And I mean, Red Bull said that when they bought the team out and moved into their factory in Milton Keynes, the place was a mess as well, and they just seemed to be very, very disorganized. And they went through, what was it, Niki Lauda, and then Bobby Rahal was in there for a bit. Gunther Steiner started out at Jag actually as well. Yeah. Let's maybe put it in D, I think. So then after that one is the Jordan EJ10. This was a disappointing car for Jordan. Again, looks amazing, but the this is the one where, based on '99, when Frentzen had been an outside title contender, and they wondered if they could, if they could push for the title this time, just didn't, because the engine and the gearbox, the reliability was so bad. And the car was really good in qualifying. They were often, on the front row or the second row, but just so many DNFs and so many races went wrong, and it just didn't work. When again, they'd been hopeful in '99. They'd been very hopeful, and even though a lot of the reason that Frentzen was in that position of fighting for the title was because Hakkinen was on really bad form and Schumacher was absent. But it was him and Trulli, and it was a very disappointing, because it was a fast car but just kept breaking down all the time. On that basis, I would say B normally, but then I think because of the reliability, it probably should go in C. Seeing a couple of Bs, Ds. EJ10 16 finishes, 17.6th in the constructors. Yeah, that's really bad for when they should have been targeting top 3 in the constructors. But yeah, I think C. Again, love the way it looks. Bright yellow, immediately recognizable. The snake on the nose cone. It's just perfect. Like, it really did work. And because as a kid, that's all I would see. As I knew Ferrari was a thing. I thought the Williams were BMWs because it said BMW on the front. And the rest of them, it was they all just stood out so much. Are we rating liveries or performance? We're rating performance. I've done liveries. I'm talking about liveries a lot because I just love these cars. They all just look the best. These are the best looking F1 cars, the V10 era cars. They've got the cleanest lines. They're small and tight and nimble, and they sound like a car, like a Formula One car should. I mean, it was kind of nuts to me, to be honest, that sometimes when I watch for videos and stuff, I'm watching replays of old races, and it's kind of insane to me that it used to be the norm that the cars would look like that and they would sound like that. And we didn't have any of this modern shit about having to worry about fucking DRS and ERS and battery deployment and having to save your tyres all the time. The cars were so much less autonomous. They were still very sophisticated, but you weren't constantly toggling settings on the dashboard, on the steering wheel. They were much more raggedy and on the edge, and you just had to, and you just drove them like a normal car. And overtaking was harder. It was harder, which, that's a mixed blessing because it might mean the races are less interesting. And I think in some people's eyes, the V10 era has sort of improved with time because a lot of it was fairly dull, just seeing Schumacher dominate. But then people are kind of used to that now because we've got Vettel did the same, then Lewis did the same, and now Max is doing the same. So we're kind of used to one driver and one team dominating for 5 years in a row. But the cars, it was more worth it. It was more valuable when you did make a move. It's like for example, I mean, Kimi, Japan 2005, Kimi, he would have had the lead probably 10 laps earlier. I don't know, if he could have DRS'd his way through everyone. And it's like he would have had Fisichella probably before they even got to the braking zone. And I really want to do. I really hope this gets tested properly. That we actually get to see someone takes the V10 cars and does hot laps with them on slicks. Because the closest we've had to that is Ralf Schumacher's taken some of his Williams out to the Red Bull Ring and done stuff, but he's been retired for 15 years. He's nearly 50 years old. He's not really in his prime. The car probably wasn't tuned up to full quali spec anyway. I think Leclerc drove in Abu Dhabi. Alonso drove his Renault, but those again were just exhibition. I want it done in a proper test day where they get a whole day to actually perfect the setup, and they get someone get Leclerc, put him in the F2004, take him to Monza or Silverstone or somewhere, does a whole day, get the setup right, maybe take the setup Schumacher used, I don't know, and then do some hot laps and on full full like engine maps and quali spec and see if they can come anywhere near the modern cars. Because I know that they could if they actually had the slick tires and not the treads. Because there's even like Barrichello's 2004 lap at Monza is only about a second off the modern cars. So they, and and considering that's Monza, that's without DRS as well. They just, yeah. Old Silverstone. Oh, of course. Maybe not Silverstone then, because it's a different layout. You can use the old section because you can actually walk on it. I remember walking under the bridge to get to the central like area where the concert event, the big stage is. So it's still there, but yeah, maybe take somewhere like Monza or Spa or one of the ones that hasn't changed in the past like 20, 25 years, and just see what happens. And see how fast they really are, because I'm sure they could be. Yes, they're less powerful. Yes, they have less downforce, but they're much lighter. They're much more nimble. So that should help them, I think. And they just sound faster. Spa was changed. Yeah, it was the bus stop. They did a million different things with the bloody bus stop chicane over the years. There are going to be other ones. Albert Park hasn't changed at all, except no, it has. 2 years ago it changed. Okay, well instead, okay, you could compare it to the W11, so the 2020 cars. You could, because that's the fastest car in Formula 1 history, the Mercedes W11. You could have, well, then you could have Spa. Not Albert Park, because they didn't go there in 2020. Istanbul, that could be done. Not Imola, because they got rid of the final chicane. What are the other circuits they did? Hungary has not changed. The Nürburgring, of course, has not changed. Hockenheim, the modern drivers we haven't raced at Hockenheim since 2019, but that was wet. 2018, actually, you could do Vettel's pole lap in 2018. Try that with the cars from 2002 onwards, because 2002 was when they emasculated the circuit and got rid of the forest section. Where else did they go in 20? Silverstone has changed. Sochi they didn't do. Bahrain. Yes, Bahrain hasn't changed at all. Portimao's new. Yeah, there are circuits you could find. Monza, yeah. China, yes. Okay, there are all these ones you could test. It needs to be done. We need more. I understand. I get that these cars are insanely expensive to run and very valuable, but we need to see more of them doing more track days and test runs and all that kind of stuff. Oh, that was a very long waffle. Austria hasn't changed either, unless you count the track limits. I don't know. Bahrain, has it changed slightly? In 2005, they did change the first corner. Only they widened it slightly. Otherwise, it's the same car. Next car, McLaren MP4 15, the 2001. So Hakkinen and Coulthard. Yeah, as I said before, almost nothing in it between that and the Ferrari. Yeah, just an evolution of the previous car. I mean, McLaren's cars from 98 until 2003 were all just evolutions of one another, and it shows because they look exactly the same. But yeah, great car. I mean, really, that season was almost Hakkinen his best, to be honest, because of how hard he and Schumacher had to push each other. Unless he lost out at the end. He was way off base in 99. 98, both of them had things just go wrong for them. But this one, it was, yeah, they pushed each other so hard. But yeah, it's almost their own performance, so that's an A. So then we have the Minardi, the M02. Very few of Minardi's cars have been anything other than awful. This one was an interesting looking one because, yeah, it looks like a Jordan with the fluorescent yellow and the Telefonica sponsorship. The drivers, it was Gaston Mazzacane and I think Marc Genet was doing a second season with them. It was a weird, strange looking car though, like the very squared off, not pointy nose. Wasn't there a race? I think it was Indianapolis where Mazzacane actually managed to overtake Michael, or he held him off for a lot. He held him off for several laps. But yeah, it was okay. So it was on pace. It was a slow car, but it was very reliable, I think. So they have that going for it. Oh, Hakkinen, they held off for several laps. Yeah, I knew it was something. No, I'm thinking of Enrique Benaldi in Sepang 2002 against Michael in the Arrows. Yeah, I like the livery. It's just a bit random the way that they went from silver the previous year to this, and then the next year is when Paul Stoddart takes over and they have the black European aviation livery. So yeah, I think just F, even though it's very reliable. I think so. I think it's maybe just an F. Then we have the Prost. This is the AP03. The AP03. So, fun. It's kind of funny with Prost. The only good car they ever had was the one that they didn't make, the very first one, because that was a Ligier. Again, visually as well as the livery, the general design of the car is very good. And I love that the Yahoo sponsorship, and I think the following year they had the PlayStation sponsorship, so it's of its time. Drivers, let's think, Jean Alesi and Nick Heidfeld were the two drivers. Wasn't there, I think in Spa, they were running in contention, weren't they in contention for a podium and the car died, or there was something like that. They were running up the front and then it just died on them. But otherwise it was just horrendously unreliable and just did not work. But yeah, it looks great, but I'm sure there was something about... There was one race where they were like, oh shit, we're doing really well, and then the car died on them. But it wasn't a good car. I think there might have been... Maybe there was a point or two. I'm really rusty on the year 2000 in Formula 1. Pitted first for dry tyres at Spa. Yes, that's what I'm thinking, and that probably got him up near the front and then would have fallen back as it went on. Yeah, I think... Okay, so unreliable, but certainly faster than the Minardi. So put that in E. That is the Sauber C19. They were out of sync. It's really annoying that the numbers were 1 year out of sync. Their first car would have been the C12 because they were numbering it based off the Sauber Mercedes cars they were using in the World Sports Car Championship. When they should have just called it the C13 or the C93. Maybe it's very annoying. But yeah, that car was Mika Salo and Pedro Diniz. There were points, only a couple of them. I don't think there were any points for Diniz, but Salo would have got a couple. I don't know. Sorry for a comment not in theme of stream, but what do you think about Haas Evolution? Will Ocon reach a podium in that next year to continue Hulk's podium curse? Possibly. I mean, yeah, Haas had a very good year this year. Now that their tyre wear is done, they're actually able to kind of push more in races and get more points. I to be honest, I only think he would get a podium if you had a very, very strange race like we had with Sao Paulo. It would need some perfectly timed safety car or a lot of crazy retirements, that sort of thing, to get if they Haas want to get their first podium. So yeah, what people are saying, the D, yeah. I mean, it's again another great livery. The Petronas with the Red Bull is just so vibrant, great looking car. But yeah, not just Sauber are one of those teams that, like, they were just always there. They spent... I don't think anyone has ever had such a long stint just being in the midfield. Like, they just... Yeah, it was just such a there team. And then suddenly when they become BMW Sauber, it's like, oh, now we actually have a good car and we can be a front runner. And then they go back to just being in the midfield. And now they're at the back as, kick Sauber. Yeah, they're everyone's favorite or least favorite midfielder, just always there to be in the midfield. So now it's the Williams, FW22. So That was Jenson Button and Ralph Schumacher. That I think that's the first. This one does have a BMW engine. Yeah, it has a different livery to the ones that came after, but yeah, I think this one had the BMW. So that was the beginning of that partnership. Jenson Button was pretty touch and go because it was his rookie season and it was a bit out of his depth, but Ralph was very good in this car. B or a high C. I don't remember this one, maybe because the front was being monopolised by Ferrari and McLaren. I don't remember this one being one that would get lots of podiums necessarily in the way that when Montoya came in and they started doing that and winning stuff when the car was working. So B or a high C. Most people are saying B. Yeah, maybe you can just get it into B. Okay, so that's every car from the year 2000. So maybe now I'll be a bit less rusty on them. So now we have the Arrows A22 2001. I deliberately picked this one because it has that famous T-wing thing or B-wing, whatever they called it, from Monaco, and then they were told, oh no, that's not safe, so you have to remove it. That car was Enrique. It was Jos Verstappen and Enrique Benaldi as a rookie. That was the one where Benaldi held Coulthard up for like 40 laps in Monaco and he couldn't get past him. And again, lightweight car, good in a straight line, but just not very reliable. So in term, not that different from the other one, to be honest. So I think it's just a D again. Then we have the BAR 003. Let's think. 2001. I think. Okay, well, Villeneuve was still there. Was it Olivier Parnis now? I don't think Zonta was there in 2001. Parnis would have done. He had. God, what did he do? He had some time at Arrows. 2099, he was. Didn't he cover for them in 99? No, that was Sarlo. Was Parnis, yeah. And then he moved over in 2003. He moved to Toyota. Villeneuve's last podiums, yeah. Hey Peter, how are you? I'm very well. Hello, Reserification. Thank you for joining in. What we're seeing: C, high D, podium in Spain. Yeah. This was a better car. I think Villeneuve enjoyed this year, and he got a few podiums. It did seem to work better. They were moving on up, but not up where they had planned for themselves to be. So yeah, maybe put that in C. Then it's the Benetton B201. So the last ever Benetton. So that's Jenson Button and Fisichella again. Button did not like this car. I'm not sure if Fisichella was a big fan. I think I'm sure, as I said before, I think it was that it didn't have. There was no traction controller. There was no power steering. It was really, handled really badly. So they didn't. So it just didn't work well for them. Button was getting. I think Briatore was not a big fan of his Playboy lifestyle as everything as well. I don't remember if maybe there was one podium. I don't remember if there any came with this car. Again, pretty. I like the blue and the mild 7 does work. It's a nice look. In the beginning of the year, they struggled to beat Minardi. The Minardi of Alonso. Yeah, there was somewhere they were quite far back, but then there was a podium. And fourth in the constructors. Actually, that's not too bad. Yeah. Let's go throw that and see. Okay, Ferrari F2001. Well, this is a fairly easy S, I think. A pretty straightforward title for Michael. You can tell that they've gone into a new evolution of car design because it has the stripped nose, the kind of dipped nose. They've tightened up the rear end, and this was kind of the basis of where they would go from there. Michael he won it with 3 or 4 races left. I'm trying to think I think Barrichello would have won some races. I think it was 2000. Yeah, no, I think 2001 was the year Barrichello didn't win any races. McLaren had fallen by the wayside. But yeah, there was it's I'm trying to think notable Ferrari races in 2001. I suppose, well, Spain 2001, Michael took the lead on the last lap when Mika's engine died. Barrichello, Barrichello didn't win any races. Malaysia, Michael rolled it in Melbourne. Okay. I don't remember that, but maybe that was in practice or something. Malaysia. Yeah, but yeah. Okay, I was going to say S, but maybe it's not dominant enough. People are saying A, so maybe it goes in A. Then there's the Jaguar R2. So the R2, similar thing to the previous year. So this now was... They had some funny things going on with the drivers. So Eddie Irvine was there. They got rid of Johnny Herbert. I think they had Luciano Berti for like one race, or they had him in, and then there was also Mazzacane was at Prost. Berti and De La Rosa. I think Berti filled in. There was one race that Eddie Irvine couldn't do. But then I remember Berti having that huge shunt at Spa as well. But there was a podium, as you mentioned before. It was either Monaco or Monza for Irvine, but not only a little bit better than the previous one. So maybe that's a C. Then it's the Jordan EJ11. Aesthetically, it looks very, very similar to the previous Jordan. Again, there were similar problems, that it was fast but just really unreliable. This one is a nightmare now, trying to remember the drivers, how that went, because it was Trulli. It started with Frentzen, and then he got axed, and they brought in a Lacey, and then I think he got axed as well, and there was someone else. Yeah, that one was confusing. I can't really remember. Trulli, Frentzen, and Lacey. Yeah, I feel like Frentzen, like he missed. They sat him out for like one race, and then he came back again. Zonta. Yeah, Zonta was Zonta again. He was the super sub back then. He was just doing all the time. He was just switching teams and doing the odd race here and there. Lacey, he was there till the end. Yeah, I think Frentzen, they got rid of him early, and then he sat out 2002. He did the last race with he did one race with Sauber near the end, and then all of 03. But yeah, quite similar to the previous car. So yeah, I think it's just another C. Then we have the McLaren MP416. So yeah, they couldn't fight Ferrari anymore. Reliability was not there. Häkkönen's form went off because he had that crash in Australia, and that just kind of destroyed his confidence in the car. And yeah, there was the race he could have won in Spain, and then the engine dies. He does get his final win at Indianapolis, but it's not. Yeah, and Coulthard finished runner-up, but he was still far off Michael. I think it was 2001 was the race where he flipped him off Manicourt when they've been battling each other. Unless that was... No, it wasn't 2002, because that was when Schumacher took the title. On the basis of... Because it ended up being quite far off the Ferrari, it probably needs to go in B. Then Minardi, the PS01, so the first of the European Minardi ones. So this was Alonso. At the beginning, it was Alonso and Tasso Marquez. And then they made Marquez had to sit out some races, and they brought in Alex Young. No points. Alonso's first car. He drove it well, but couldn't do points. Reliability was bad. So yeah, there was not much to say. I think this car was built car was built in haste as well. It was kind of already at the last minute. Yeah, not a good car. Then the last ever Prost, the AP04. Again, very pretty. The Bleu Royal, and this one had the Acer branded engine, which, well, that was a Ferrari, wasn't it? It was a Ferrari rebranded as an Acer. But again, stupidly unreliable. And then 2002, Phoenix Finance tried to use this car and weren't allowed to, and they made some kind of Frankenstein car that I can't find any pictures of anywhere. And this is the one, it was, so let me think. Was it still a Lacey? No. Yeah. Mazzacane was in there for like 4 races, and then they got rid of him. I'm going to say a Lacey. Bertie. Oh, it was in this car that Bertie crashed, not the Jag. Yeah. And I think didn't someone else have a massive... Oh, no, I'm thinking of something different. Yeah, another one where they swept everyone. But again, awful car. Probably speed-wise, okay, but the reliability... Oh, yeah, Thomas Enger. And then he got done for, doing cocaine or whatever it was. We're ranking off performance, not livery. I'm just waffling on about livery for ages. Maybe just scrape it into E because it's similar to the one from the previous year. Montagny, yeah, he was done for cocaine as well, but I think, actually no, I think Enger, I think it was just cannabis, to be honest. But Montagny was done for cocaine. So then it's the Sauber C20, Kimi's first car. This one is so that's Heidfeld and Kimi. In terms of design, this was notable as the first Formula One car with twin keel front suspension mounting, which then got adopted by a lot of other teams afterwards. And yeah, this was very good midfield car, quite a lot of points. Kimi impressed in it, considering that everyone had very low expectations for him. So yeah, not a bad car. Everyone's saying B. Heidfeld podium. Yeah, both said it was low to drive and quite reliable. Yeah, it was all round a good car. So yeah, maybe that should go in B. It does feel a bit galling putting it next to the McLaren, but the McLaren never worked. Then we have the Williams FW23. So this is the first of, I don't know, well, it's not the first BMW Williams, but I guess the first proper BMW Williams because it has the new livery, the HP Invent livery. Montoya was amazing in this car. Really, the BMW Williams in general, all monstrously powerful, but they just broke down all the time. And that just really killed it. When it could have been... I mean, we saw what he did, only his second race, wasn't it? Sao Paulo, squaring up to Michael. I think he did win Monza. So that was he got his first win his first season, pretty certain. Yeah, I think B, because the reliability is letting it down. Everyone's favourite car, the Arrows A23. As we said, the village bicycle. So many other cars have ended up being based off of this one. So again, the only notable design change with this is that they adopted Sauber's twin keel suspension. But the car was... The pace could have been worse. Reliability was pretty bad, and then the team ran out of money and folded early. But, the cars got... First bought by Paul Stoddart at Minardi. They tested them, and then it became the basis of the 2004 Minardi. Then they became show cars, and then those Minardis were bought by Aguri Suzuki and became the Super Aguris. And then there's a Marussia liveried car that looks like a Super Aguri, so something going on there. used for tests, just as a track day car. So yeah, plenty of recycling of this one. But again, not too dissimilar from the other previous two Arrows, other than not making it to the end of the season. Maybe because of just the reliability and everything going wrong and the failures to qualify, it should go in E. Then we have the BAR 005, 004 even, the 004. Again, the BARs, they're so hard to distinguish because they were all just mid in every sense of the word, and they all looked the same. Again, it's the white with the lucky strike. It doesn't, to me, it looks functionally the same as the previous ones. But yeah, don't think of any podiums. 2002, Villeneuve and Parnis still, because it would have been the year later he went. Okay, thank you, Weber Q2. Yeah, thank you for sticking around. Worse than the 2001 BAR. Where did I put that one? I put that in C. Everyone's saying C. Yeah, it's just in the middle, so yeah, just put C. Then we have the Ferrari, the F2002. I mean, this is an S. Like, I mean, yeah. Schumacher got a podium in every single race. Barrichello won a few races. They really tidied up. They really tidied up the rear end. It became very tight around the engine cover and the exhausts. And yeah, nobody could touch it. And it just meant that 2002 was an extremely boring season. And Schumacher won the title with 6 races remaining. Which, well, I mean, Max did the same thing last year, technically, because he got the title before the Qatar main race, he did it with 6 races left. But that was over a longer season, so proportionally, this is much earlier to win the title for Michael. Then the Jag, the R3, 2003. So this is Eddie Irvine's gone. This is Mark Webber. Then it starts with Antonio Pizzonia, and then they bring in Justin Wilson. Or unless it's the other way around. Yeah, that's how it was. Unless it was the other way around. I don't remember any podiums. Again, another pretty Jag, but otherwise it's just a midfielder. Are we missing a Jag? Oh no, there is 2 of them. Yeah. Wilson was 2008. Oh, this is 2002. Yeah, this is still 2002. Okay, so it's Eddie Irvine and not Bertie, not Della Rosa. No, it was Della Rosa. Yeah. Yes, 2002. Yeah, Irvine and Della Rosa. So there was a podium somewhere. I think that was the Monaco podium. Monza. Okay, everyone's saying Monza. Otherwise, yeah, not really that different from the previous one. Some C's, some D's. Yeah, let's go D. Then the EJ12. This is where Jordan's downfall really began. So they took this one. This one had Honda engine. They still had the Mugen Honda engine. So this was Fisichella and a rookie, Takuma Sato. This car is run. There's a company that runs it as a track day car. But it doesn't have the original engine, which is unfortunate. But you can, so you can use it for track days and stuff and pay a hefty fee. Only good enough for points every once in a while. Takuma was crashing constantly. Otherwise, just lower midfield. It was just that, yeah, it kept the reliability was as bad as the previous ones, but now the pace was much worse than the previous 2. So with that in mind, I think it goes in D. Then the McLaren MP417. So then again, evolution of the previous car. This one was not good. I think they were 4th or 5th in the constructors. The pace wasn't there. The reliability wasn't there either. Kimi and Coulthard. It just didn't happen with this one. It was getting the design was getting quite outdated. So I think that one goes in B. Coulthard won Monaco. Okay, well, they've got that at least. But yeah, Monaco, if you can get yourself into pole, you can win from there, basically. Then the Minardi PS02. So amazing start. 5th place for Webber, and then 7th for Alex Young. And then they mid-season, no more points after that, but that mid-season they dropped Young, and Anthony Davidson filled in for a couple of races as well. But marginally better. I mean, okay, very fluky points, to be honest, because that race was chaotic and hardly anyone finished. But yeah, on maybe just you can put it a little bit, put it up into E for there. Then we have the first, well, not the first, but the first of the returned Renault, the Renault R202. So the first Team Enstone Renault, and the first Renault since 1985. Has the this is the again mild 7, but they really made this livery work. Jenson Button, Giancarlo Fisichella. Car was far better than the previous year's Benetton. Not bad all round. So we're seeing some C's. One person said a B. I think let's go for a C. Actually, well, mostly B, C, C. Yeah. Congrats on 40k. Thank you very much. Yeah. 2 seconds. What we got next? Sauber. 2002 Sauber, Massa and Heidfeld again, so he had to stay, but Massa and Heidfeld. 111 degree V10 in the Renault. Oh yeah, the Renault was a funny one, wasn't it? Yeah, Frentzen at Indy, so they put Massa. I think they did that because Massa had accrued a lot of penalties, and they thought, let's sit him out. And so we'll just do it. So we'll bring Frentzen in, and then off that they decided to take him in for the following year. So yeah, similar basic design as the previous car, but just wasn't as competitive at all. So where's the other one? That one's in B. C or D for this one? C, C. I think mostly C. Or D even. Oh, actually no. Let's move that up to C. Right. The first Toyota, 2002, the Toyota TF02. So they had. I remember, even though I wasn't watching F1 properly at the time, as I said, I remember it being in the news when Toyota were entering Formula One, because it's a big manufacturer, a lot of money behind that project, and they were clearly prepared because they had built a car in 2001 just for testing, and so they'd done a lot of preparation. It just didn't happen because the car, it was Mika Salo, Alan McNish, and it just wasn't competitive. Lower end of the midfield, few big shunts, just quite disappointing for them. Mostly seeing E's. Not bad in terms of pace, but just couldn't get in the points. Last in the standings. Yeah, they got beaten by Minardi, but that's because of the first race. I think it might be an E, that one. Then we have the Williams. That's the FW24. The 2002 Williams. Again, really powerful, amazing one-lap pace. There were a lot of pole positions in 2002, mostly for Montoya, but horrifically unreliable car. There were hardly any finishes, really, that I remember on the Williams. I think there was at least one win, but it just didn't. Yeah, being really held back by reliability. Ralph won a race. I think, was it Canada? There was Canada one year that he won and Michael was second. Win at Sepang 2002. That was the one where it rained at the start and everything just fell apart for Ferrari. 7 poles, 13 podiums. Canada 2003, yeah. So the previous one, it's in a similar, I suppose it's a B again, because the previous one was a bit more reliable, but then a bit less, wasn't so good on pace. So I think maybe it's that goes in B. Next up, BAR again. The 004. Yep. BAR 004, 2002. So that's Villeneuve, of course. And not Parnis. Someone. Is this 2003? Oh, I'm getting them. Oh, it is. Yeah, we're on 2003. Yeah, I keep forgetting. The Williams is the last one because it's alphabetical. So, 2003. So that's Button and Villeneuve. And then they drop Villeneuve with 1 race left and bring in Sato. Yeah. This car was not bad, I think, again. It was better than the O2 car. Otherwise, just kind of existed in the midfield. So, yeah, I think a C. Yeah, I think it's just they're all just really mid. All the mid forgettable cars. C is going to start getting clogged up with Saubers and BARs and all that, and Toyotas eventually. Okay, Ferrari, the F2003 GA, so not the dominant car they'd had before. They tried some new stuff with the aero, but their main weakness was the tyres just did not enjoy the heat. I remember, again, I watched 1 or 2 races in 2003. I remember that heat wave we had here, and I remember they were highlighting it on the broadcasts about how high the track temperatures were and everything. But even with things not working, Michael still had a lot of wins until we get to the point where suddenly the tyre compounds change and then he's winning stuff. Good but not great by Ferrari standards. So yeah, that's an A. It got so close to Kimi getting it on 1 win. And the Williams was up there too. It was something. There were you could see parallels with this year, almost in reverse. That Red Bull start really strong, and then and then Ferrari and McLaren catch up, something like that. Yeah. Then it is the Jag, the R4. So this is Mark Webber and Antonio Pizzonia, and then Justin Wilson near the end. Again, their performance didn't really go up and down much. They just existed in the midfield, and the car was not brilliant on reliability, but again, aesthetically they just all look brilliant. That's why I just remember them so much, and I loved the little Hot Wheels ones you could get in cereal boxes and stuff of the F1 cars back then. I always loved the way this one looked. Mostly C's was seeing, so I think maybe a C. Then we have the race-winning Jordan, EJ13. So this is Fisichella, Ralph Furman, and then 1 race was Zsolt Baumgartner. So, okay, let's just pretend that win didn't happen because that's a huge outlier. The rest of its performance was marginally better, I guess, than the O2 car. Furman, I think Ralph Furman only scored points once. Fisichella had a couple of others outside of that win. But the car, yeah, they switched. They dropped Mugen Honda, now had a Ford engine in the back of it. Clearly slowest, second slowest ahead of Minardi. Can't be higher than D. Yeah, the win, and yeah, if you think the 2001 one is in C, minus the win, yeah, I think I'll put it in D. Then we have the McLaren MP417D. So this is functionally the same as the 2002 car, but they had improved the reliability to no end. They kind of reined the engine in a bit. The car ran really well. Kimi nearly took the title in it when it was a very outdated design. This was the last of that evolution from the 1982-03, the same basic design. And then they tried to go in a different direction with the MP418, and it just didn't work. Or F1 wasn't ready for it yet. Yeah, this one almost on par with the Ferrari. Just surprisingly reliable considering how that it was a year-old design. I think it's a base of Raikkonen dragging it higher than it should have been. It could well be, because, I mean, Coulthard won the opening race in Australia, but otherwise he wasn't really there in the fight. On the basis that it did well considering it was a year-old design, maybe it should just slip into A. So then we have the Minardi PS03. Minardi in 2003, that was Jos Verstappen and Justin Wilson, and then Nicholas Kayser after Wilson went over. I don't think they scored any points in 2003. This car, when they were rushed building it. I think when they were testing it, they didn't even have a tire supplier set up, and they got that at the last minute. They tried Avon tires and stuff like that. It was another mess. It wasn't. I don't. Yeah, everyone's saying E. It's not quite an F. I think it was there or thereabouts. They're just the points didn't happen this time. Then we have the Renault, the R23. Renault in 2003. Alonso came back. That was Alonso and Trulli. Yeah. Well, Alonso took his first win in Hungary, of course. Otherwise, upper midfield. And he got a win, so that's always a good going. He lapped Schumi in Hungary. Yeah, pole Alonso, Malaysia. Yeah, he got pole in Malaysia, and then Kimi won the race. Maybe this does slip into B. Yeah. Then the Sauber, the 2003 Sauber, so that's the Sauber C22, Frenzen's last car. Again, extremely there in the midfield. Frentzen and Heidfeld. Yeah, Frentzen and Heidfeld. A couple of podiums. Frenzen's last ever one in Indianapolis. I think Heidfeld had one somewhere. Just extremely there in the midfield. So yeah, we did try to get Frentzen on the podcast like several months back. Our producer sent him this really nice formal email in German, and then he never responded. So that was annoying, because he's done other podcasts, but we weren't able to steal him to get him on. And we wanted, because a lot of the others, they like to talk about. Okay, 2 seconds. I need to take a phone call. 2 minutes. Right. wait, there's something. Yeah. Right. Okay. Good. Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. So, well, I see everyone in the chat's been keeping themselves entertained. That's good. I can concentrate properly now because I'm not expecting a phone call anymore. So, don't fall out over on me. Oh no, this is going. Right. Where were we? 2003. Toyota. 2003 Toyota. Another extremely mid car. Midfield. Very there car in the midfield. So. Yeah. Olivier Parnis. I think Trulli, or was he still at... No, he was still at... No, he was at Renault. Oh, D'Amato. No, that was 2004. Or was he 2003 as well? Wasn't McNish, that was 2002. Oh, maybe it was Parnis and D'Amato. Okay. So, yeah, Parnis. Otherwise, I don't recall any podiums coming for them in 2003. I think the car was just existed in the midfield. Hell of a lot better than the previous car, but still not where they kind of wanted it to be. With the amount of money they were putting, best finish of 5th. Yeah, that just screams midfield. So that can be a C with the Sauber. Then the Williams, that's the FW25. So this one, again, a mighty car. They had, for the most part, the reliability was far better than 2002. It just, again, they were screwed over with the changes to the tyre compounds, and it just didn't quite happen. But yeah, that's one of their best cars. With Montoya, Ralph, and Marc Genet did a couple of races, I think, as well, that Ralph had to miss. A, and an S. I can't in good faith put this into an S, so yeah, this is an A. I just wanted to hop into support for a few. Keep on trucking on history, and I hope you can keep the motivation despite the stats. Thank you. Yeah, it's been really nice and really quite humbling. The amount of support and feedback I got from when I put out that message explaining the situation with the channel. It was to get that much attention, and obviously people care and they do want me to keep doing this. That was kind of very helpful, and things are still difficult. Maybe they will pick up because the last video was good. If the next 2 land as well, and I'm feeling confident that they will, maybe things will pick up again. Because as far as as far as I know, all the other major F1 YouTubers are able to do this full time without any problems. So there's no reason why I couldn't do the same. I don't know why the algorithm would just target me specifically and start ignoring me, but we'll see if things can pick up more. That's all of 2003. Only 1 car in S so far. It's actually this is almost perfectly symmetrical. I've noticed. Just put if that Minardi was up there, this would be perfect symmetry. So this isn't based on livery. No, I mean only in so much as I think aesthetics do matter when ranking cars, but not really. This is principally performance. I did a livery. I did my 30,000 subscriber subs stream, which I did in February. That was livery. So that'll appear somewhere on my channel. You'll find that one. 2004. This for me is when Formula One cars basically peaked. They'd got the most refined with this era with the V10s and the aero. 2005 when they brought in those rules about raising the minimum ride height of the front wing to take downforce off, and the new rules about you have to run the same set of tires for one race, and that. But these are this is my favorite set of cars, the 2004 ones, and these are the ones I think could beat modern cars on one lap if you put them on decent tires. So first up is the BAR, the 006. Some out of nowhere, suddenly BAR have this amazing car, and like it was I mean it was 11 podiums. Jenson got 10. Sato got 1. There was a pole position in there somewhere, but just Ferrari were just that much better that they couldn't do anything. It was a close modern analogy would be like Red Bull in 2020, where Max was in most races was just running behind the Mercs, but couldn't quite catch them, and so was being denied a lot of wins and stuff because of that. But I think it could go in A because consistent, reliable, dependable, but just not. It was in the same year as the Ferrari. Speaking of the Ferrari F2004, so for a long time this was the fastest car in Formula 1 history. It still holds a lot of lap records, but that's only because we have that stupid rule where lap records can only be set during races and not qualifying, which is nuts, because the cars are always faster in quali. But very indomitable. I mean, Schumacher was, without the crash in Monaco, he could have taken 11 or 12 consecutive wins or something. The R29, it is, but we're going chronologically, so that'll be right near the end. Of the world's ugliest Formula One car. I think they thought, okay, the 2003 car, this design hasn't worked, so let's go back to the 2002 car. And they took that and they just kind of tightened up the rear bodywork a bit and stuff like that, and it was enough. And they just dominated it. Barrichello's quality lap is still the fastest lap in Monza. It's the lap record, but the thing is, it's not. It's only about a second off the modern cars, as I said before. So that's how good this car is. It's like I said it again in my ranking. For me, it's like the ultimate Formula One car. It has the perfect balance of performance and engineering excellence and aesthetics and just everything else. And the drivers who drove it as well. So it's just the perfect Formula One car for me. Where's the Renault? The 2001 Renault. Where did I plonk that one? In C. Right in the middle. As ever, when this is done, I will publish this list on my socials as well so people can see. Okay, so then we have the last ever Jaguar, the R5. Again, this is the one famous from Monaco with the diamond in the nose cone that got lost. So it was Mark Webber, Christian Klein. Christian Klein, notable as the first ever Red Bull Junior to graduate to Formula One. Just some points here and there. Just again, extremely there in the midfield. Front row start for Webber in Malaysia. Okay, not bad. D for diamond. Maybe it should be D for diamond, just because I guess it wasn't quite as good as the 03 car. 5-point finishes is not brilliant in a season with 17 or 18 races. So let's throw that in. That blends so nicely with the arrows picture above. You almost can't see the tarmac is like perfect, is seamless there. Anyway. Jordan EJ14. So Ford engines. Nick Heidfeld, Giorgio Pantano, and then Timo Glock. No, Benoldi was not the first Red Bull Junior. He was sponsored by them, but he was never a member of the Red Bull Junior team, so he doesn't count as a Red Bull Junior. But yeah, Jordan EJ14. So yeah, last year with Eddie Jordan at the helm. Glock comes in, scores points in his first race, Canada 2004. I think courtesy of double disqualifications for Williams and Toyota, they get double points, but otherwise not a competitive car. So it could be D. I figured it was worse than the 03 car. Yeah, maybe yeah. I think we can just put it. Yeah, I think D. Then we have the McLaren MP419. So this one is a funny one because everyone knows the famous story about the MP418 that Adrian Newey built, and it had all these revolutionary features which are now standard practice about having just this extremely tight bodywork and having the I think they tried exhaust blown diffuser as well, and just the packaging did not work, and it was overheating all the time. The gearbox itself was overheating, so it was really forward thinking, which just didn't happen. And they'd invested so much in that they then had to build this at the last minute, basically, for 2004, which was described by Newey as a debugged version of the MP418. At first, it was terrible, and then they brought some massive upgrades mid-season. So they brought in the B-Spec one, and then Kimi won in Spa in this car. So yeah, I mean, it looks quite aggressive because it has the very narrow nose cone. But even as good as it was near the end of the season, it was pretty awful at the beginning. So for that reason, it probably should go in C. I think. Then we have the Minardi PS04B. So the PS04, that was the Arrows A23. So that was, again, I said the story that Stoddart bought those chassis. He tested it alongside the 2003 Minardi. The Arrows was better. And so they thought, okay, we'll run this. But then he's like, I don't know how even though we have the intellectual rights to do so, I don't know how I feel about running another team's car unchanged. So they used it as a basis and then made some modifications. And the end result was the PS04B. Jean-Marie Bruni, Jolt Baumgartner, only season for both, although Baumgartner did that one race with Jordan the year before. 1 point, again, a chaotic a chaotic Indy with not many finishers, but otherwise always at the back. So there's not much else to say. Yeah, just, I mean, some of the gaps were really quite alarming. There were races where they were being like 3-4 times, and that's, yeah, pretty significant. But again, I like the look. The livery is a bit hodgepodge, but it kind of works with the Super Fund and the green. I think it's they've made it work quite well. Renault R24. So this was Trulli and Alonso, and then they got rid of Trulli and put in Villeneuve for the last 2 races, and he didn't get any points for them, and I think they were hoping to still second in the constructors. Didn't happen. This car as well, it's notable because when in one of the early seasons of Top Gear, the Stig did a lap in this, and it got it in under of the Top Gear test track and did it under a minute. Of course, it wasn't actually the Stig driving; it was Heikki Kovalainen because he was their test driver at the time. But yeah, third fastest car for most of the season. Where's for reference, the BAR is in A. So yeah, I think we'll put this in B then. Then we have the Sauber C23. So this was Fisichella and the return of Felipe Massa. So this car was, I think Fisichella himself did reasonably well in this car. It was a bit random. He came in just for that 1 year. I think he was meant to be there for more than 1 year, but then he took an exit clause to get the seat with Renault for 2005. Otherwise, yeah, just always in the midfield, being very, very there, and not much to distinguish it from the others. It was the last Sauber to have the Red Bull sponsorship, because then Red Bull came in themselves the following year. So yeah, C for Sauber, or Kauber as it would then be. Then it's Toyota 2004 Toyota. Again, so this was Olivier Parnis's final year. With someone. I'm so bad on... Because Sarlo was done by then. Ralph was still at Williams. D'Amato again. Oh, yeah, D'Amato. I think there were a couple of really good races for D'Amato. And that. Oh, Zonta as well. And Trulli, yeah. So Zonta did one. Trulli came in at the end. So yeah, another one they're just moving teams around. Again, this was slightly more on the upper end of the midfield, but not a particularly outstanding car, even so. So I think we've got another one going in C. Okay, not quite symmetrical now, but yeah, it's getting quite heavy in the mid range. The Williams FW26, the Walrus nose. I mean, fair dues for them to trying something different. We hadn't really seen a design like that before. And then they realized it wasn't working, because I think the idea was they wanted to improve airflow under the car, but it just ended up taking away most of the downforce. So then they got rid of that, and they put a much more conventional nose on, and then they got a couple of wins near the end of the season. But it just didn't. Yeah. I mean, I like the way it looks. I mean, the Walrus, just very interesting looking. But again, the livery, it really was a very polished. The HP Invent livery was very, very polished, and it complemented the BMW really well. The other two, A and B. This one I think B, because there were a couple of wins in there, and it just they gave it a go with something different. It just didn't quite work out for them. And again, it was the reliability, and Ralph had his crash again, didn't he? In Indy, and then Marc Gené came in, and yeah. Now we're in 2005, so we've reached the halfway mark of the decade. This was the year that we still had the V10s, but as I said before, the new rules about you have to run the whole race on the same set of tyres, and they raised the minimum ride height of the front wing to reduce downforce. So made the cars a tad slower, but yeah, this is a very popular season for a lot of people. First up, the BAR 007. Again, this is a name I've known for a while, because this is the one that would appear in the Guinness Book of Records, and because they tested a heavily modified version of this car on the salt flats in Utah, and got it to go to, I think, over 300 miles per hour with basically no wings on it, or just enough to stop it taking off. But on the track, of course, this is the one that at first was awful, and then they got done for having the second hidden fuel tank in Imola, and then got banned for 2 races. But then Canada onwards, I think Button scored at every remaining race, but Sato got 1 point. So big downturn for BAR. But again, it looks great. I love that this one, I would say, don't walk on the back of the rear ring. I don't know what the reference is, but I just thought it looks cool. Unless it's going to be something to do with their British American tobacco, because this would have been the last year before they banned tobacco sponsorship for 2006 in the EU. The DSQ, it was the secret fuel tank. Max Mosley, he wanted them banned from the whole season, but yeah, this wasn't quite as egregious, I don't think, as what, say, Tyrrell did in 1984. But Sato Sato struggled a lot. Sato's struggles in F1 could be the basis for a video. It could be. I mean, off the top of my head, I mean, I could do that, but I feel like that's something that like the mobile chicane would be amazing at. He's very good at those kind of dissection of drivers from that era. Yeah, something on Sato, because I haven't done a biography video in a long time, and I tend to like to do ones for Japanese drivers. Anyway, let's think. So, mostly C. It started really badly, and then they managed to improve it. So maybe if it hadn't improved, it would have stayed down in D, but I think it's a C. Then The Ferrari F2005. So yeah, this was the end of Ferrari's reign. They just didn't enjoy. It didn't work for them. The new rules, it just didn't land. I mean, the car was again an evolution of the previous one, but it just didn't work. The one win is not. It doesn't count. Otherwise, some podiums. A pole position. I think Schumacher got pole at Hungary, maybe. But otherwise, yeah, it just wasn't there. It was like, again, it was the end of the reign, like similar with Mercedes in 2002 or 2002, 2022, or Red Bull in 2014. That just doesn't quite, like, good but not great. Oh, of course, Imola, yeah, that one. The battle. Those are the kind of battles that you can't have with DRS, and with the modern cars. I mean, we kind of, it's like Max and Lando tried it this year, but it just didn't do in the same way. It was like, oh, try and pass him, can't pass him, fall back, charge up my bloody battery, let's go again, do rinse and repeat. Instead of doing like this, and again, like Monaco 92, just all over the back of him, can't do that anymore. The Jordan EJ15, so a Jordan in name only, because Eddie Jordan had left and sold the team to Alex Schneider and the Midland Group, but they kept the Jordan name before becoming Midland. Ford engine, Tiago Montero, Narain Karthikeyan, most fraudulent podium in history, maybe second only to George, Spa 2021. Elsewhere, okay, they did get a point in Spa with the B-Spec car. And there were some races early in the season, particularly where the drivers could qualify like within the top 12, 13. But it's slow, but it was still faster than the others. It's still faster than Minardi. But I'd say E. It was a downturn from the previous one. Only 16 hours. Yeah, it was very reliable. That's one thing for it. Oh boy, the McLaren MP420. I mean, there's so much you could say about this car. Like, insane engine, so powerful, really good aero, but just not the engines just could not last. It's just, yeah. And I mean, it had the like those like bull horns on the side of the engine, which just looked brilliant. But it just didn't. They had perfected the look. The last West McLaren, and this time, the previous Wests had been very blocky cars, and this was sculpted really nicely. It's just let down so much by reliability. If Kimi had taken the title in this car, I might have said it's an S, but it's the reliability that's letting it down. So I think it's an A. This is one I'd love to see in action again. I feel like because when Kimi retired, they should have done either for Abu Dhabi, because they keep not doing this when they should. They should give drivers like former champions, they get to do exhibition laps in one of their previous cars. When Vettel retired, they should have put him in one of his Red Bulls, maybe the 2010 one, because he got the title there. Kimi, either the 07 Ferrari or this car, he could have done it. When Lewis does his, put him in maybe the 08 McLaren or the W11. Alonso can have his Renault. He did that technically a couple of years ago, but have him do it again. Or the GP2 engine car. We need more of those. Max, again, he can have a Red Bull. We need more stuff like that. That when you retire, let's give you a go in one of your early cars. Just for fun. Again, maybe I should actually try and get this some more traction for this on Twitter, because Silverstone next year is going to be 75 years of Formula One. So I think what needs to happen is we need to replicate what was done in Bahrain 2010, when all the living champions got together for a reunion and then did hot laps in their cars. I mean, I absolutely think that, unless maybe it's been planned and they haven't told it yet, but that absolutely needs to happen. Silverstone next year, get them all. I mean, all of them except Michael would be able to attend if they wanted to. Not all of them would probably be up for driving their cars, but yeah, that needs to happen. Any chance to hear a V10? Not without getting done for copyright. Maybe if I take a video from a race or whatever. I am planning, actually, maybe I'll do this over the winter, because a couple of years ago I did that video on the Turbo era that was really popular and did far better than I thought it would, because it has almost 1 million views. I think I will do a corresponding video about the V10 era. So yeah, I think that might come over. Just another, because I'm doing a lot of rankings recently, maybe just a general history on the V10 era. I think that would be very popular. Yeah. What's the next? Minardi, the last ever Minardi, the PS05. So 5th and 6th in thing. Indy doesn't count, but also Paul Stoddart was furious because he knew that it killed any chance they had of beating Jordan for last place, and then even outside of that they didn't get any points. This was the first car to have a vertical slit in the side, those like little winglets on the side pods. I think that was its main claim to fame in terms of design, but otherwise there's not much to say. Just another slow Minardi with what was it? Christian Albers, Patrick Friesacher, and then Robert Dornbos were the drivers. So that's all the Minardi's done. There's 4 of them in there, and then 1 of them just broke into E. Then is the first Red Bull. Yeah. So I think this car was basically a Jag. I think it had more or less been designed by Jag, which is partly why it had the Cosworth engine. There was a podium. I think it was that year was they had the Star Wars livery, and then the year after that was the Superman Returns livery, and there was a podium Monaco, maybe both years, or maybe that was 2006. Coulthard, his experience, he was good in this. He was good in it. Clean was not bad. Liuzzi did a couple of races as well. So not, yeah. It was just another very midfield car. One that we keep seeing a lot, because Red Bull love to bring this one out and compare it to the modern cars and be like, oh, look how much smaller and louder it is and that. And it was they did their parade at Goodwood with all their cars this year as well. Yeah. Renault, the R25. So yeah, this one got the title. Not as fast as the McLaren, but much, much more reliable. So that was what did it then. And again, the livery is just perfection. This is how you do it. So where did I put the McLaren is an A. Maybe this can just scrape. I don't know if this can like just be able to scrape an S. It's because it had the thingy in the nose. Yes, it had the tuned mass damper to stop it, because they found, because of the changes to the ride height, the car was bouncing a lot over curbs, and that helped with that to absorb the bouncing and the energy and made it much more stable. And then it was midway through 2006 that got banned, and then suddenly Michael starts catching and beating Alonso. I think it gave them as much as a second per lap. Yeah, very, very clever design. I don't think it's an A. I don't think it's an S even. Let's throw it in A, because at the end of the day, it won because of reliability, not because of pace. Then we have the Sauber C24. So the last of the first iteration of Sauber. So this is Massa and Villeneuve. Villeneuve liked being there, but the team didn't want him there. But he was, I think he, well, was it 06 when he wanted to be there, but they didn't want him. Yeah. Peter, if you need some engine audio, I took some videos back at Imola of some cars when they were running the engines. Yeah, that could be useful if you want to send those to me, if that's of hybrids or if they were running old cars, yeah. I mean, there is a lot of... I find that it's quite easy to find, like, track day footage and stuff that isn't from races to get good quality V10 stuff and cars, and so that's... There's a lot of material out there to work with for people like me. But anyway, the 2005 Sauber, I don't recall any podiums. I think it was just... like every other Sauber, it just existed in the midfield. So yeah, it could go there. But again, again, the look is brilliant. Very pretty car. The Petronas livery looks like a toothpaste tube. Very nice. Okay, the Toyota TF105. So this was a massive improvement. Now they were getting pole positions. They were getting podiums. There were no wins, but yeah, really, really good on one lap pace, but just not so good at keeping the tires working. So yeah, a lot of people say I think B, because the other Toyotas are all in C, and this is clearly a cut above the rest. I think, wasn't it? Well, Trulli had pole. He had pole at Indy, so there are so many. I mean, maybe I should do a video on this. What if the Indy 2005 had just run like a normal race? What would have happened? That could be interesting. Although, in the age of AI, I could probably do that and generate imagery of the race instead of just using Photoshop really badly or something. But that could be a fun thing, yeah. If it had just run as a normal race and who would have won it, and yeah. Then the Williams FW27. So this one again, they kind of took a step back again. The reliability has improved, but at the cost of pace. So it was just not. That was Webber and Heidfeld, and then Heidfeld got injured, and they had Pitsonia did a few races, and I think he wanted a seat next year, and they just didn't give it to him. The last of the BMWs, again, great looking thing with the HP Invent livery, but just not. It just didn't work again. There was a pole position, Heidfeld, Nürburgring pole position, but a lot of C's. Where are the other ones? Yeah, I think it's a high C. I think it's a C plus. You can say there's a lot of cars in C in this. Okay, so now that's the end. That's the end of the V10 era. So now it's 2006. From here on, I'm much better on knowledge, because again, one of the main things that got me when I got me into F1 was when I bought F1 Championship Edition just as I started watching it. And I didn't know it. I hadn't watched F1 in 2006, so I didn't know about half the drivers and teams, and I was a bit annoyed that there were drivers in 2008 that weren't there, and I couldn't race as them. But playing that game was really kind of crucial to getting me into Formula One back in the day. So the BMW Sauber F106, only marginally better than the previous Sauber. There was a podium. What's his face? Kubica got a podium in Monza. Maybe Heidfeld got one somewhere. Liveries are gorgeous. Yeah, they are. It does look amazing. These are just perfect liveries, like the Sauber BMW Motorsport with the black, the white, and the blue and the red. It looks like the BMW, the prototypes, the V12 LMR. But yeah, podium. Hungary Heidfeld got. Oh yeah, he got one too. So 2 podiums. So you're just kind of upper midfield. On that basis, I think it goes a high C again. Vettel debut, yep. Well, Grand Prix weekend debut in Turkey as their third driver once they got rid of Villeneuve. I mean, the thing is, Villeneuve, up until Germany, he was doing kind of okay. He'd scored points on 3 or 4 occasions. I mean, yes, he crashed in Canada, and yes, he crashed again in Germany, but they didn't. Yeah, it wasn't bad, to be honest. From him, it's just, I guess, not good enough for them. Right, Ferrari 248 F1. So yeah, again, they sorted themselves out, got themselves up at the front. For the first half of the season, they were behind Renault, but then when the Tunema Stamper went, then the car was improved. Michael had some really shoddy races, but then had some of the best races of his life in this car. But it's I think probably just an A. It's not an S. I think just an A. And yeah, there were a couple of races where reliability just at the wrong time. In Schumacher, China, Japan, he had the engine failure. He crashed in Australia. He hit someone in Hungary and came out of the points. Massa probably had breakdowns. I don't remember. Yeah. Very pretty car as well. Then we have the Honda. So this is the first Honda in 38 years. 1968 was the last Honda. Back when they were made of magnesium. So yeah, Honda RE106. Pole position in Australia. Win for Button in Hungary. Kind of towing the line between upper midfield and front runner. And yeah, towards the end of the season, it was very good because I think Button scored more points than anyone else in the last 6 or 7 races. Yeah, this one, I think this one's a B. It's because it's like upper midfield, lower front runner. They managed to keep the livery without the tobacco sponsorship officially. Just turn that into a circle, which again is very clever because it looks like the Japanese flag then. Then we get the McLaren MP421. Again, gorgeous car, the first of the Vodafone Chrome, with the black side pods this time. So Montoya, Kimi, and then De La Rosa. No wins, but lots of podiums, a couple of pole positions as well. It just didn't, it had the pace to win, but just didn't quite happen. Again, you compare this to the modern, last year's Mercedes, for example. No wins, but still had the pace if things had worked out for them. But it was not a bad design overall. It just didn't quite work. They gained reliability at the cost of outright speed. B+, 9 podiums, mostly Bs. Yeah, I think B. Midland, the M16. This car appeared in, I remember it appeared in the show Suits. I think the producers are probably like, okay, what's the cheapest Formula 1 car we can hire for one scene? And that Midland that no one cares about. There's almost nothing to say on the car in terms of its design, other than it was basically an evolution of the Jordan from the previous season. And they brought upgrades that made no difference. It was always the second slowest car. It just didn't do anything. Just one of those random one-year teams. Why was the Midlands in Suits? I think it was just used in a scene where it was like a display car in the lobby of a building. I haven't watched Suits, so I don't know, but I think I'm told that's what it is. But really, a really unremarkable car. So that's an E. The Red Bull RB2. Again, a very forgettable car. This was a transitional year for them because by this point they'd hired Adrian Newey, but he couldn't design this car. Had that very big nose. Ferrari engine, which sounds kind of nuts now, the idea of Red Bull having Ferrari power. Coulthard and Cleon again, and then Dawn Boss. Lower midfield, that podium in Monaco. Otherwise, really not a very remarkable car. It got fewer points than the year before. Where's the other one? No, it's there. Maybe this is a D. I think it's just bleh. Renault R26. This one was this was an improvement. Even with the loss of the Tunes Mass Stamper halfway through, it was more obviously the fastest, rather than just relying on the Ferrari to break down all the time. Another, just fantastic car. The look is great. It would have been a much easier title win for him if if they'd never banned the tuned mass damper. I don't think this quite goes into S because it wasn't outright dominant and they only just scraped the constructors title. So I think A, like an A plus. It's fair enough. Oh dear. The Super Aguri SA05. So again, another one. This car is just it is the Arrows A23, but the Cosworth V10 is replaced with a Honda V8. So other than that, they changed a couple of little things just because of the technical regs. They had to readjust the drivetrain to get the gearbox to line up with the new engine. But otherwise, it's a 4-year-old Arrows, and it was a temporary stopgap of a car. No pace, no reliability, just no nothing. So it's just an F. But again, it's a car everyone knows because for most people it's your starter car in Formula One Championship Edition, and it was often for me. Then we have the SA06. So the SA06 was heavily based upon this car, but they had made a lot of improvements to the aero. The reliability was better as well. Its true pace came out of the very last race when they when Sato finished 10th and Yamamoto finished almost not last. It seemed to, the temperatures, the tyres, that really seemed to work for it, but still wasn't better. They were closer to Midland without being faster than them. So it's another F. Then it's the Toro Rosso STR1. So this one is just a rebadged Red Bull RB1. This is, the last ever V10. So they were given dispensation to keep having the Cosworth V10 in 2006. It just had to be rev limited to compensate. Although there were some other teams protesting that, we think they're just running it at normal revs and getting more power. And it's like, well, they're not scoring points anytime soon, so I don't think it's not giving them that much of an advantage. There was a point. Indianapolis, they got a point. To be honest, otherwise, a lot of time there was actually a fairly large gap between them, Midland, and Super Aguri. They weren't really a back marker. They were hanging on to the midfield, but only 1 point came their way. And if I compare, so on that basis, maybe I could just about throw it into D. Just looking at the other ones because the Midland is in E, the Red Bull is in D. The car it was based on is in C. Not in the same tier as RB2. Yeah, it was slower than that. Yeah, only a single point at the end of the day. Then we have the Toyota TF106. So here they dropped back again. It was just middling it in the midfield with Ralph and Jarno. No, I don't recall any podiums, just points sometimes. Are there any where the other? There's no Toyotas in D. All the others. I mean, this one is not that different. Yeah, I think it's a C again because it's not that different from the others. To be honest, on how it performed, I think they finished 6th or 7th probably in the constructors. So how would it have gone? Renault, Ferrari, McLaren, Honda, BMW Sauber, and then I guess Toyota, Red Bull, Williams, Toro Rosso, Midland, and Super Aguri. 6th. Okay, 1 point behind Sauber. Ugh. Well, Sauber are in there, so they can go in there. Then we have the Williams FW28. So this one is this is a very interesting car actually because they when it was working well, it worked really well. It just almost never worked. So many problems with overheating engine. The exhausts kept catching fire. I think Webber was denied a podium like 3 or 4 times because of reliability. Rosberg had reliability, but also was just a lot of he had like 3 or 4 first lap crashes that were like obviously his fault as well. It was just a very rotten year from a car that is gorgeous. It looks so good. But they kind of got stuck in the lower end of the midfield because when it was near the front. I mean, like Malaysia, for example, they qualified on the second row, but then they were both out within the first 10 laps. So it's something that I think it's a D because the overall performance is good. It's just the reliability was just so bad. I think that was the worst up until then. That might have been the worst season they'd ever had, other than 1977. It was not a good time for them. The Cosworth engine, I think that kind of ruined their relationship with Cosworth because then they started getting Toyotas. Okay, BMW Sauber F107. Big improvement. Solidly third fastest car in 2007. I don't think, although that being said, I don't think they ever got a podium. I'm sure I looked at this and I was like, not one podium in 2007, which is quite shocking. But impeccably reliable, always up near the front. 2 podiums for Heidfeld. Okay, maybe it was Kubica that didn't then. Yeah, just kind of there or thereabouts, but just not realistically able to compete against Ferrari and McLaren. So I think it's a fairly solid B. And again, Vettel made his race debut in this car and finished 8th. Then we have the Ferrari F2007. So title, nominally they ended up with the constructor's title. Kimi gets the driver's title. Car starts well, kind of falls apart in the middle, and then comes back again really strongly. But again, it's so hard to tell. This is another season where there was almost nothing in it on pace between Ferrari and McLaren. So it wasn't outright dominant, but it's a great car. So that goes in A. Then the Honda RA107, the first of the Earth Dreams car. I mean, this one is very divisive. I think it looks absolutely stunning. Like, I love that. It's such a unique idea for a livery, and it immediately stands out because it looks like nothing else. I think it's gorgeous. It's a shame the car was shit, but there were a couple of points. I mean, just near the end of the season, they got a couple, and that saved them from being at the bottom of the standings. So, yeah, worse than the Super Aguri. Certainly in the first half of the season it was, which kind of, for them, was a bit galling because they were being beaten by their previous year's car. 6 points, yeah, not bad. Let's put this in E. Then we have the McLaren MP422. So, yeah, just wasted potential with this. One of those drivers should have been champion. They should have got the constructors were it not for Spygate. The car was like the reliability was perfect. I don't think they ever had any problems with the car breaking down. Yeah, Hamilton and Alonso Hamilton was beating Alonso for a lot of the season and really got under his skin. Admittedly, Hamilton had done an avalanche of testing, and Alonso had, up until then, had been driving Michelin tyres, and so the Bridgestones were used to him. He wasn't used to the Bridgestones. Congrats on 40k. Thank you, not applicable. Good to see another creator in the chat. Howard had a breakdown in Brazil. Well, he did, sort of, but not really. It wasn't terminal. It was just, a temporary inconvenience that was slightly suspect. I remember that, I think the report was basically a piece of metal or some kind of debris had gone into one of the, hydraulic pumps in in the gearbox, and then eventually it fed its way through and everything could get going again. It was something like that. Yeah, just supremely good car, and just a car of wasted potential. But it's in A because it was almost nothing on pace with that and the Ferrari, but slightly better, but better reliability because I mean Ferrari did have breakdowns. It's just it's a good just a really really good car, but it's I'm not even convinced with Spygate. I don't even know if they found much evidence that any of the data he had actually informed the design of that car. To be honest, it's a 2007 is just a fascinating season for Formula One. There's so much left unsaid, and like there are lots of things to think about. Like if we get the full details on Spygate, and then also with Hamilton, there's the accusations of sabotage in the final few races to stop Hamilton taking the title, and there is some reason to believe that maybe that was the case. It's a really this is the thing I'm hoping is that when Hamilton retires, is he's going to write his memoirs, and maybe he will spill the beans on 2007, and then also the mechanic swap in 2016, and tell everyone what at the moment he's contractually probably not allowed to talk about. Really great time for Formula One. I think I was just getting into it around that then. Okay, next up, the Red Bull RB3. Extremely midfield car. Coulthard, Webber. There was a podium in 2008. I think 2007. No, because of course Fuji, Webber was on course for a podium and then Vettel hit him. The car like that. This was Adrian Newey's design, but really not his best. It was just very very average. Oh, podium in Europe. Yep. So there was one. It was this in the 08 car. To me, are almost indistinguishable. Like they look exactly the same, and the performance is near identical. Incredibly there, and really not Adrian Newey's best work. Then we have the Renault R27. This one was, in terms of design, it wasn't that different from the previous car, because they thought, well, why change? If it's not broke, don't fix it. But it just didn't work, because everyone else had updated their cars, and so they fell behind. And also without Alonso there, I think that made the difference. If Alonso had still been with them, he wouldn't have won the championship. He could have won maybe 2 or 3 races. I don't know. Kovalainen was good. End of the season, he was pretty strong. Podium in Fuji. Beating at the time a very very experienced Fisichella. It just similar to Benetton in 1996. It went from being champions to dropping to like 3rd, 4th fastest and just not being quite there. Lost Briatore. No, they hadn't lost him yet. That would come in 2009. It is nuts that he's back at Alpine. I'm still trying to think what he's cooking up. Because they got that we've seen the whole thing about Doohan might not even last more than a few races, and they'll just get rid of him. Originally, that was going to be because they were interested in Colapinto, but then the Colapinto hype train's worn off because everyone got really excited by him by Colapinto scoring podiums, and then he started crashing and doing a bad Logan Sargent tribute act, and so now no one's interested in him anymore. I don't mind Doohan. I like that. I like with Doohan that he they're keeping the pipeline right, and that he's been there for 2 years as a reserve. He's done all the simulator stuff, so that's how you do it. You do that for a couple of years, and then you get a race seat. So I think it's fair enough. I'm not expecting him to set the world alight, but why not? I mean, for all we know, maybe he's very good on the technical side, and so they like that he gives them lots of good input from data from the simulator. So maybe that's where he'll be good. But it was his first race, but he really wasn't brilliant in Abu Dhabi. I mean, he nearly crashed into Stroll, but I don't know. That being said, the thing is for me, like Oliver Oaks, he is a puppet. Like he's not running the place. It's Briatore, and he's got something planned, and I don't know what it is yet. So next car. Oh, we're still ranking the Renault. Where am I putting this? Probably it's in a similar. Well, it was a similar kind of pace to the BMW Sauber, but then they kind of fell off near the end, and then they had some really really bad races near the end. Maybe it just falls into C. It's a high C. I think. God, a lot of cars in C. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 24 cars in C. Okay, the Spiker F8-7. So needlessly complex name because this was based off the F8 referring to the fact that it was a V8, and then the 7 is the year because it was in Roman numerals because that was the designation they used to give to their planes like 100 years earlier. Except other than Winkelhock leading on his debut, there's nothing. They didn't do anything interesting. I mean, Sutil got a point in Fuji because of a disqualification for Liuzzi, but the car was really, really bad otherwise. The B-spec model came at Spa, and that was better, but it was still just slow and really unremarkable. And even though it was a new design, it wasn't functionally that different from the Midland. So it's not an F because it wasn't like abominably bad. It's just that it had no one to fight with because the Super Aguri was really good. So I think it's an E. And then we have the Super Aguri. Where would Winkelhock have finished had he not broken down? Probably near the back. He would have been. I mean, Lewis was a lap down, but he would have been outside the points. I mean, he dropped like a stone on the restart because he was on the wrong tires. And the pace, yeah, he wouldn't have been in the points. So the Super Aguri. So this car they were like, oh, let's just steal last year's Honda that won a race. And guess what? We're making it into Q3 and we're scoring points and we're, shafting Alonso sometimes. What could have been for Davidson, though, Canada, if he hadn't hit that groundhog, it wouldn't have been a podium, but he could have been, I don't know, 4th or 5th, something like that. It started well, but then the development stalled, and by the end of the season, they were basically where they had been the previous year. But that they will always have beating Alonso and indirectly costing him the championship as well. I might add in Canada. Canada is one of the many ways that Alonso lost the title. Two races away from taking 7th in the constructors. Yeah, it was very very slow. It was very close. But just that it was Toro Rosso in China and everything just didn't happen for them. Yep, then the Toro Rosso STR2. So this was literally the Red Bull RB3, but just the engine was different. So the Toro Rosso had a Ferrari, the Red Bull had a Renault engine. Other than that, exactly the same car, and that was enough to make it worse. Basically, there was. Vettel, when Vettel came in, he got points. They got the 4th and the 5th in China. He nearly got that podium, or 4th and 6th even. Nearly got the podium in Fuji until he crashed into Webber. Although when you look at the replay, because originally Vettel got penalised, and then there's it's still on YouTube. There's footage filmed from the grandstands that clearly shows Lewis weaving and braking, and that causing. And because they're unsighted, Vettel hits Webber because Webber's having to brake to avoid overtaking Lewis. So then Lewis got a reprimand for that. Before that, it was horrifically unreliable as well. There were a lot of DNFs on reliability. So I think it's an E. I mean, they played the strategy well and it was a wet race, but yeah, it's an E, the car. Toyota TF107... Trulli, Ralph, again, it just existed in the midfield, doing its thing, doing midfield things, just sometimes being in the points, sometimes not being in the points. Again, I don't recall any podiums for Toyota. The other Toyotas, it's not. I think this maybe was worse than the 06 car. Maybe it just slips into D, a high D. The Williams FW29, slightly new livery. So this is Nico Rosberg, what's his face, Alex Wurz, and then for one race Kazuki Nakajima. So Wurz got a podium in Canada. I don't recall Rosberg getting one anywhere. But this was a considerable improvement over the previous car. They'd sorted the reliability out. Rosberg was scoring points basically all the time. Yeah, fourth in the constructors. Admittedly, that would be fifth without Spygate. Yeah, they did good with this. They kind of got themselves back. It was the Toyota engines which they got for free, provided they did something with Nakajima. Yeah, not bad. Okay, so now 2008. So this is the first full season that I watched. BMW Sauber, absolutely gorgeous car. Like everything, the livery is a perfect 10. The aero is a perfect 10, like with the horns and everything's going on all at once. Why did they stop development? Like, he got the win, he was leading the championship, and they're like, lol, no, we're going to build a dog of a car for 2009. Again, perfect reliability, not one mechanical retirement. Like, just absolutely supreme. Again, it's another car similar to the BAR in 2004. The pace just not quite there to be able to reach McLaren and Ferrari, but just a otherwise just a supremely good car that it just fell apart at the end. Goodness, hard to say with this one. It's perilously close to an A. It just didn't. I'm going to go A. It never broke down, and they got a lot more podiums than 2007. Then we have the Ferrari F 2008. Again, if you put this next to the previous car, I won't tell them apart. They look the same. Not a fan of the livery. Marlboro had to go because tobacco, but that barcode thing's going on. There's just a bit too much red. You need a little bit of the yellow, a little bit of the white. Yeah, pace-wise, on par with the McLaren, similar deal. They won the Constructors' title. Yeah, just where it is. Force India, the VJM01. So this car it's the Spiker, just rebadged as a Force India. It was the same engine, the same chassis, nothing changed except the livery and the team running it. Slowest car there. It's funny, actually, to think how much time has changed back when you were screaming at Force India to get points. And then a couple of years later, they were getting points all the time. And then they started getting podiums. And then as Racing Point, they got a win. And then Alonso as Aston has been, well, no podiums this year, but last year a lot of them. But yeah, because it's functionally the same as the Spiker, so that's an E. But yeah, just Monaco, that fourth place, it could have happened. I mean, I don't think it would have had any effect on the Constructors' battle, but it would have been something. Honda, the RA108. Again, I'm in two minds with this livery. This is considerably worse than the 2007 livery, but it's still kind of worse. The car looks good. Again, the horns on the nose are nice. Button had, 5th or 6th in Spain. Barrichello drove very well to get that podium in Silverstone. It was just slightly... It was better than the 07 car, but only marginally. I don't know if that can quite justify putting it in D. 6th in Spain, only 4 finishes the whole year. It was a podium, but yeah, that was. I think that was Rubens basically outdriving the car. I'll put it in E. It's not. It's a high E. Then we have the McLaren MP423. Again, the only way I can tell this apart from the MP422 is the lack of the bullhorns on the engine cover. Post Spygate, reliability again was excellent. It was mostly the drivers being Heikki just being slow and Hamilton being very erratic meant they took away what could have been a better fight for the constructors. But yeah, another fantastic car, aesthetically perfect. But yeah, it was so little in it between them and Ferrari. The Red Bull RB4, intensely mid. A podium by Coulthard in Canada. Otherwise, he was crashing constantly because I think he just lost the will to live in his final year. Other than the shark nose, it doesn't look any different from the RB3. Just existing, just filling up space on the grid. Again, Adrian Newey, it wasn't no different, but he I think by that point he was obviously prioritising the 09 regulations, and it showed because that was his bread and butter. The Renault R28. So Alonso returns to Renault. Then there's Nelson Piquet Jr., the cheating car, the Crashgate car. I like the look. Again, this one makes the shark fin works, and the sort of very pointed way it goes to the front. The lines are nice. The livery is good as well. At the start of the season, it was awful, and then it was really good at the end of the season. There was there was also the Fuji win. It is an improvement over... This is something where, at its worst, it was worse than the 07, but then at its best, it was better than the 07 as well. So I think it goes in B. But quite pretty car, but just a Crashgate is the thing. And yeah, PK was on. PK got his own. He got a podium as well, of course, in Germany. That was very lucky with the safety car. Super Aguri, the last of the four Super Aguris, the SA08. So this was based off the Earth Dreams Honda, and would you believe it was not very good? They had double retirement in the first race. They both finished in Malaysia, but last. Bahrain, they were last. And then Spain, Sato was last. For some reason, they changed the livery at the final race they did. In Spain, a lot of the red had gone and it was predominantly white. I don't know why, unless it was that's because they were losing sponsor. I don't know what the reasons for that were. But otherwise, yeah, it was just the Honda, but worse. So it might maybe this is an F with the others. Then we have the Toro Rosso STR3. So this one again is the Red Bull RB4 with a Ferrari engine instead of a Renault engine. It was brought late in the season. It didn't debut until Monaco or Turkey, one of the two. And how long does it take to put a new engine in? Maybe they had to adjust the drivetrain and the gearbox for the new engine and the engine cover. But, I mean, Vettel completely outdrove the car. They were beating Red Bull a lot. He got his win in Monza. Again, another one on looks, it's a perfect 10 again. Why couldn't they just keep this livery on Toro Rosso? I mean, Toro Rosso and, AlphaTauri RB, they, to be fair to them, they have mostly been very good on liveries. Most of their liveries have been excellent. Yeah, this one. Well, the Red Bull is in C. This was better than the Red Bull. I think it's a B. Then we have the Toyota TF108. Again, it existed in the midfield. Jarno Trulli, Timo Glock. Glock, crashes. Was that him in Brazil? Podiums. Hungary, there was a podium for Glock. There was another one somewhere else. France, okay, one podium each. And some hefty crashes from a car that just existed in the midfield. So the 07, the 06 is there, the 07, yeah, this is in C. Then we have the Williams, the FW30. The FW30. Kazuki Nakajima, Nico Rosberg. Rosberg was, mostly scoring points. There were some races where it just didn't have the pace. Nakajima got points in sometimes. Lower midfield. I don't think they really improved much over the 07 car. Rosberg got 2 podiums. Yep, I'm seeing people saying, yeah, Rosberg should have won at Singapore. Yeah, without the cheating, he maybe could have. Although, that being said, without the cheating, there would have been no crash to trigger that safety car. This is... It's not as good as the '07 one. But then it's also better than the '06. Yeah, 2 podiums of Rosberg, but other than that, hardly ever got any higher than 8th. Yeah, it was really kind of mid to lower midfield. So maybe it goes in D for that reason. Although I think it was reasonably reliable from what I remember. Hard to say. I mainly remember Rosberg crashing in Monaco. Nakajima, every other race, Nakajima was was losing his front wing. Yeah, it was just a bit like erratic from both of them. Oh, getting near the end now. Oh, so that's now it's just the class of 2009. I mean, what happened with the looks? I don't know what was going on here. So the BMW Sauber F109. So yeah, they thought, oh, we just want a race and we're leading the championship. Now we're going to abandon this car and build this monstrosity. Yeah, this was awful at the beginning. If you ignore the fact that Kubica would have got a podium without the crash with Vettel in Australia, there were later in the year there was a podium somewhere for one of them, but the car started so badly, and then they did manage to improve it once they threw the double diffuser on. I think that helped. Just oh god, ugly car, not good. Yeah, second in Brazil, that's the one. Yeah. Kers and front wing problems. Yeah, they had Kers. They were one of the ones that tried it, and it didn't really happen. I think I don't think they had a diffuser from the beginning. I think they introduced a diffuser. So Braun, Williams, and maybe it was them. There were 3 teams, or Braun, Williams, and Toyota. I think were the 3 that from the beginning of the season had a double diffuser. But yeah, not brilliant for them, and they never really picked up again after that in the years later. Then we get the Brawn. I remember because everyone always talks about. I mean, I think it reeks of British bias with the way this is people talk about this car and the team. Is that I wasn't exactly shocked that this car was so good from the beginning because I knew that they'd been developing it all year. Because the whole of 2008, they're like, yeah, we don't give a shit about this car. We're working on the 09 car. Yes, they had to change the engine, but they've been investing a lot of time in this car. But yet it's just that the team nearly collapsed towards the end. So I wasn't exactly shocked that the car was good, but you could see the lack of money that they made. They didn't really upgrade it at all. They were using the same all season. They were using the same spec of car and the same chassis. So it was actually getting worse as the season went on, because the chassis was warping and flexing from the stresses of being run a lot, and they couldn't really replace them. If they'd maintained the form from the beginning, it would have been an S, but because they fell behind quite noticeably behind Red Bull and then even McLaren and Ferrari, I think it falls into A. But again, aesthetics, it was just this one-off livery that we've never seen again because the team never came back. It was just a great looking car. They'd obviously got the aero, the very, very clever with the double diffuser. Yeah. But also, I think also because at the time, Hamilton fanboy, Vettel fanboy really, really did not like Button. So I try not to think about 2009 too much. Ferrari, the F60, I hate this car. Absolutely hideous thing. Gets used all the time at Goodwood because I think it's like, oh, it's cheap, let's just run it. No one cares about this car. Who cares if someone crashes it? And they keep, changing the livery on it. I mean, the original's awful, but yeah. Well, this is the car that nearly killed Massa. Kimi got the win in Spa. Fisichella came in and didn't even... Finally, after all these years, he got his dream to drive for the Scuderia and then doesn't score a single point. I just hate that car. When they started the season, it was just a midfielder, and then they did manage to improve it a bit. Because they got it near the front towards the end, it probably then comes into B. Yeah, it's not an A. No, it's not an A. Not in his wildest dreams, it's an A. Yeah, this is a B. Then we have the Force India VJM02. So no longer using an old Spiker. They had Mercedes engines. That pole position came out of nowhere in Spa, even though he lost the lead at the start and finished second, but still a podium for them, even though they had no performance anywhere else. I remember Satil, he was on course for points in China and then crashed, just because why not? It's otherwise, it was mostly near the bottom, and then they just got that podium and the pole. Yeah, there was points at Monza. I think he got fastest laps Satil as well in Monza, maybe. So it might just scrape into C for what otherwise was a fairly unremarkable car. But again, the Kingfisher, I was always a big fan of the Kingfisher livery. I thought it was very pretty. And again, easily recognisable, stands out. They were kind of another they again, in the years after this, of course, the diffuser era, they were just very, very there in the midfield. When they had like De Resta and Satil and Hülkenberg and that lot. The McLaren MP424, the one that Eddie Jordan called a dog. Lewis famously hated this car. It was bad. I mean, it was, as well as being slow, it was fuck ugly. And then they slapped a double diffuser on it, and Hamilton wins the next race. When before that he'd been getting knocked out in Q1 and finishing well outside the points in a lot of races. Kovalainen was nowhere. Double diffuser. Then Hamilton won Hungary and somewhere else. I think there was a second win for him. He crashed on the final lap in Monza from third place. But it was like Ferrari in that when it was bad, it was the same pace, and then their upgrades came at the same time, and then it was kind of on pace as well. Singapore, that was the other one. Yeah, that one, I don't really remember that race that well, because my Singapore usually falls around my birthday, and that year I think I had a sleepover with my friends, and we were watching the race, and I like fell asleep halfway through, and then I was kind of waking up every so often, and I thought my friends were taunting me by saying that Vettel had a penalty for whatever he'd done. And so I can't really remember that race very well. But yeah, there were 2 wins for Lewis, and Heikki was useless. The Ferrari's in a B, so this is as well. Then we get the Red Bull RB5. So Adrian Newey finally gets to work his magic. He gets blindsided by the use of a double diffuser, because I think the thing is he would have done that if he thought it was legal, but he didn't think it was allowed. And then they did it, and then the car was good. But the beginning of the season, yeah, second fastest. Vettel was crashing, being very erratic. It had that awful, really, really narrow nose cone, and then they brought in the wider one that the later cars had. There were also problems with reliability as well. It was just it wasn't their time yet. A lot of DNFs, but wins. Both drivers got wins. It's an A. It wasn't dominant, and it had It's a similar part of the Brawn. Oh God, the Renault R29. I mean, what were they thinking with that nose? Like, I'm not even an aerodynamicist, and I'm looking at that. It's like, that is not the nose you want on a Formula One car, because it looks. People don't even realize how big it is, because I think the underside is black, so it's actually even fatter than it looks normally. At first, it was really bad. Alonso got. He got pole in Hungary, which is nuts, because, I mean, Alonso never gets pole, but also in that car to get a pole position. But then the wheel came off, so that screwed that race over. Piquet was useless, and then Grosjean was also useless. I remember when Grosjean came in, and it was just random, because it was this weird little French kid, and everyone was like, he's not ready, and he obviously wasn't ready. And then came back and won GP2 and something else, and then he was ready, sort of, for 2012. He was given a race ban for that race. What race? I don't remember Alonso getting a race ban. But yeah, for losing the tyre. Oh yeah, well that's not. Well, the thing is, you can't ban. You don't do race bans for tyres coming off. Like, you do race bans because the car's illegal. Like, that wasn't his fault. And it's like, are they going to say to Lawson now that, oh, next year you can't race in Bahrain or whatever because your tyre nearly came off in Abu Dhabi? Suspended race ban. Okay. I don't even know where to put this car. Probably D. Just fuck ugly, slow. Yes, there's a pole position. But otherwise, it just... Like, even the delivery is awful. The ING, they've lost the Mild 7... And they got rid of... I think it was that year, midway through that year, they lost ING as their title sponsor as well. Horrible thing. Then we have the Toro Rosso STR4. Again, I'm going to look into this because the thing is, this again is the same chassis as the Red Bull RB5, but it's a Ferrari engine instead of a Renault engine, and yet suddenly that stops it, means it goes from being the fastest car to the slowest. Like, does the engine really make that much difference with the rest of it? It's there has to be more to it than just the engine. But even though this was the slowest car, and they actually got a lot of points. That's the funny thing, is that was a year where everyone was getting points. So Buemi got points. I don't think Aldrisswari got any. Bourdais maybe did before they dropped him. But yeah, that was enough of a difference to just make it worse, as the Ferrari having a year-old Ferrari engine instead of a modern Renault one. Aldrisswari crashed a lot. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I think Brazil there was something else. He was not really ready because they called him up when he was midway through. I think it was either the Formula 3 Euro Series or Formula Renault 3.5, and he wasn't used to driving races that long as well. Custom engines were still old spec back then. Yeah, so this was the 2008 Ferrari engine. So it was a year-old engine and a Ferrari one. So whereas the Red Bull had the 09 Renault engine. Yeah, but not good overall. Good enough for points, but not really good enough to compete against anyone else. So maybe it just fits in D. If it got no points, it would be like in E, probably. Okay, only 2 cars left. The Toyota TF109. So the last Toyota that raced, because they did have that TF110, which looked bitchin', and HRT tried to buy but couldn't afford it. This one, again, was up and down. It was very strange. Glock Trulli and then Kobayashi. Like, was it Monaco? Bahrain, they locked out the front row, and then in Monaco, they're both out in Q1. It was just yo-yoed up and down all the time, and they couldn't make up their mind about where they were. Double diffuser. Yes, a couple of hefty crashes again. What's his face? The Stefan Grand Prix. Maybe I think they wanted it. Yeah, maybe the Stefan Grand Prix they tried to buy it, but no, HRT did try and buy it. I think for 2011 they tried to buy this car, but they couldn't afford it because they had that show car that they ran for all of 2010. Yeah, I'm intrigued about 2010. I think they would have been competitive for once when you consider the amount of money they were putting into it. Yeah, it's hard to say with this one because it just yo-yoed up and down. It's kind of between, maybe it just goes in C because it kind of goes between B and D. If the 2010 Toyota did race, where do you think it could have finished? With their drivers, and probably would have been similar to where like the Renault was, like near the front but not at the front, so behind Ferrari, Red Bull, McLaren, but still reasonably competent. But then if we'd had that, we would have had a full 26 cars, and that would have been amazing that year. I think it meets in the middle, so C. This is the and then we have the last car, the Williams FW31. So another new livery. They brought in the Philips, the new sponsor. The car, they had the double diffuser from the get-go, but apparently didn't work as well as Braun's. Rosberg was in the points almost every race. Nakajima never got any points though. it's probably an improvement over the previous car. It's just that Nakajima was underperforming in it. Rosberg had 8-point finishes in a row. Yeah, he was very consistent. But I don't recall any podiums. So on that basis, it might just be a C. And that's all of them. Yeah, we've been going for nearly 3 hours now. So I'm not going to go through and name each of them because we don't need to do that. But yeah, it is interesting. The only 2 cars that got into S were the 02 and 04 Ferraris, but that's kind of apt, I think, when you consider it all. Yeah, lots of McLarens and Williams. I think it's all McLaren, Williams, and Ferrari, and then a couple of others in A. B is some of the front running team's bad cars will go in B. C is just an army of Toyotas and Red Bulls and Saubers and Jags. Personal favorite? Well, I think the Ferrari, the F2004, as I said before, it's like the perfect Formula One car. I really like that car. I also adore the MP420. The 08 BMW Sauber is brilliant. The 08 Toro Rosso is brilliant. The 06 Super Aguri is fun. The early Jordans, even though they broke all the time, also fun. The Jags, again, very pretty. The Arrows. Yeah, they're all just very, very good cars. Is the Stream Deck going to switch me to full screen? Don't think it's going to. Okay, this thing's not working. Yeah, so what we got further down, the E's, the F's, Minardi, Super... Yeah, 4 Minardis and 3 Super Aguris in F. Yeah, but yeah, I'll save this and share it and people can have a look at it online. I do wish my Stream Deck would work, but I'll just switch this over to... what am I looking at? I'm exhausted. Full screen. There we go. Oh, that's better. Yeah. That was fun. I should get back into doing more streams, I think. Because I haven't done any for months, and that's an easy way to get something that counts as an upload. When I'm going, a few weeks without putting anything out. Yeah. So there'll be something coming in more general F1 chat teams. Yeah, I don't have to just tier list, just general chats I can do and Q&As. I had been considering ones like gaming ones, but I'm skeptical about my laptop being able to handle all the software running all at once. And I thought about doing F1 Manager. I bought F1 Manager 24. I've done a bit of it, and it is better than the other two, but just not quite there for me to really engage me. But that would have been something easy to do as a stream. Because the games, I'm not really... if I did the racing games, I'd be using a controller, and I'm not exactly, Marcel Kiefer and Jarno Opmeer and all the others. Yeah. So there'll be another video in the next couple of days, then big ranking video as soon as I can after that, hopefully before Christmas. That's keeping me going, but yeah, this I need... it's been very tiring recently, and so I need Christmas to come. F1 tyre tier list. Oh, Jesus. Trying to do Goodyear and Firestone. Oh, that'd be fun. Because back, I'm sure back in the 60s and 70s, you could run a tyre for an entire season if you wanted to. They weren't really so much of a consideration. 1980s drivers. Yeah, I meant to do that this year, but I held it off because the channel was in decline, and I thought, okay, if I can't guarantee that people are going to watch it, it's not worth the time and effort to make it. But that will come in the new year. 1980s drivers will be done, because there's again over 100 of them, and the 90s drivers one is still doing well. So I think the 80s one will. I don't know if I'll go beyond the 80s. I mean, by the 1970s, I think people are losing interest at that point, and you're getting a load of random guys that did one race and that. So we'll see. But yeah, there's. If I just keep calm and carry on, I'm sure the channel will pick up again, and I'll be in a position where I'm a bit more financially secure. Yeah. I'm really tired. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you as ever for your support to get me to 40,000. My target now, I think within the next 6 months, is to get to 50,000. And I think if I keep doing the shout outs at the beginning of videos, it just gives people the impetus to subscribe and do the bell icon, because when I went to Google help support to say what is happening, and they were like, oh, just make them click the bell icon. It's like, well, that's all fine and well, but that's not going to fix this with you not pushing my videos. But yeah, so yeah, I'll call it a day there. So yeah, thank you all for tuning in, hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, I'll see you all next time.